Good morning, this is the Paradise Unicorn Priestess bringing you day 292 of A Course in Miracles, the Yin translation where we use female words. This would be October 19th if you're starting at the new year. How should the teacher of God spend her day? To the advanced teacher of God, this question is meaningless. There is no program, for the lessons change each day. Yet the teacher of God is sure of but one thing. They do not change at random. Seeing this and understanding that it is true, she rests content. She will be told all that her role should be this day and every day, and those who share that role with her will find her, so that they can learn the lessons for the day together. Not one is absent whom she needs. Not one is sent without a learning goal already set, and one which can be learned that very day. For the advanced teacher of God, then, this question is superfluous. It has been asked and answered, and she keeps in constant contact with the answer. She is set and sees the road on which she walks stretch surely and smoothly before her. But what about those who have not reached her certainty? They are not ready for such lack of structuring on their own part. What must they do to learn to give the day to God? There are some general rules which do apply, although each one must use them as best she can in her own way. Routines as such are dangerous, because they easily become gods in their own right, threatening the very goals for which they were set up. Broadly speaking, then, it can be said that it is well to start the day right. It is always possible to begin again, should the day begin with error, yet there are obvious advantages in terms of saving time. At the beginning, it is wise to think in terms of time. This is by no means the ultimate criterion, but at the outset, it is probably the simplest to observe. The saving of time is an essential early emphasis, which, although it remains important throughout the learning process, becomes less and less emphasized. At the outset, we can safely say that time devoted to starting the day right does indeed save time. How much time should be so spent? This must depend on the teacher of God herself. She cannot claim that title until she has gone through the workbook, since we are learning within the framework of our course. After completion of the more structured practice periods, which the workbook contains, individual need becomes the chief consideration. This course is always practical. It may be that the teacher of God is not in a situation that fosters quiet thought as she awakes. If this is so, let her but remember that she chooses to spend time with God as soon as possible, and let her do so. Duration is not the major concern. One can easily sit an hour with closed eyes and accomplish nothing. One can as easily give God only an instant, and in that instant join with her completely. Perhaps the one generalization that can be made is this: as soon as possible after waking, take your quiet time, continuing a minute or two after you begin to find it difficult. You may find that the difficulty will diminish and drop away. If not, that is the time to stop. The same procedures should be followed at night. Perhaps your quiet time should be fairly early in the evening if it is not feasible for you to take it just before going to sleep. It is not wise to lie down for it. It is better to sit up in whatever position you prefer. Having gone through the workbook, you must have come to some conclusions in this respect. If possible, however, just before going to sleep is a desirable time to devote to God. It sets your mind into a pattern of rest and orients you away from fear. If it is expedient to spend this time earlier, at least be sure that you do not forget a brief period, not more than a moment will do, in which you close your eyes and think of God. There is one thought in particular that should be remembered throughout the day. It is a thought of pure joy, a thought of peace, a thought of limitless release. Limitless because all things are freed within it. You think you made a place of safety for yourself. You think you made a power that can save you from all the fearful things you see in dreams. It is not so. Your safety lies not there. What you give up is merely the illusion of protecting illusions. And it is this you fear, and only this. How foolish to be so afraid of nothing. Nothing at all. Your defenses will not work, but you are not in danger. You have no need of them. Recognize this and they will disappear. And only then will you accept your real protection. How simply and how easily does time slip by for the teacher of God who has accepted her protection. All that she did before in the name of safety no longer interests her, for she is safe and knows it to be so. She has a guide who will not fail. She need make no distinctions among the problems she perceives, for she to whom she turns with all of them recognizes no order of difficulty in resolving them. She is as safe in the present as she was before illusions were accepted into her mind, and as she will be when she has let them go. There is no difference in her state at different times and different places because they are all one to God. This is her safety, and she has no need for more than this. Yet there will be temptations along the way. The teacher of God has yet to travel, and she has need of reminding herself throughout the day of her protection. How can she do this, particularly during the time when her mind is occupied with external things? She can but try, and her success depends on her conviction that she will succeed. She must be sure success is not of her, but will be given her at any time, in any place and circumstance she calls for it. There are times her certainty will waver, and the instant this occurs, she will return to earlier attempts to place reliance on herself alone. Forget not, this is magic, and magic is a sorry substitute for true assistance. It is not good enough for God's teacher because it is not good enough for God's child. The avoidance of magic is the avoidance of temptation. For all temptation is nothing more than an attempt to substitute another will for God's. These attempts may indeed seem frightening, but they are merely pathetic. They can have no effects, neither good nor bad, neither rewarding nor demanding sacrifice, healing nor destructive, quieting nor fearful. When all magic is recognized as merely nothing, the teacher of God has reached the most advanced state. All intermediate lessons will but lead to this, and bring this goal nearer to recognition. For magic of any kind in all its forms simply does nothing. Its powerlessness is the reason it can be so easily escaped. What has no effects can hardly terrify. There is no substitute for the will of God. In simple statement, it is to this fact that the teacher of God devotes her day. Each substitute she may accept as real can but deceive her, but she is safe from all deception if she so decides. Perhaps she needs to remember, God is with me, I cannot be deceived. Perhaps she prefers other words, or only one, or none at all. Yet each temptation to accept magic as true must be abandoned through her recognition, not that it is fearful, not that it is sinful, not that it is dangerous, but merely that it is meaningless. Rooted in sacrifice and separation, two aspects of one error and no more, she merely chooses to give up all that she never had, and for this sacrifice is heaven restored to her awareness. Is not this an exchange that you would want? The world would gladly make it if it knew it could be made. It is God's teachers who must teach it that it can. And so it is their function to make sure that they have learned it. No risk is possible throughout the day except to put your trust in magic, for it is only this that leads to pain. There is no will but God's. Her teachers know that this is so, and have learned that everything but this is magic. All belief in magic is maintained by just one simple-minded illusion, that it works. All through her training every day and every hour and every minute and second. Must God's teachers learn to recognize the forms of magic and perceive their meaninglessness. Fear is withdrawn from them, and so they go. And thus the gate of heaven is reopened, and its light can shine again on an untroubled mind. Today's passage starts out talking about advanced teachers and what a day would be like for them. The advanced teachers have developed trust as the foundation for all the other traits that were listed earlier in the teacher's manual. And when you have that level of trust, the support system that God has in place for you is functioning. So the teacher is in communication with God and merely follows the guidance. No big deal. So then the rest of the passage talks about advising those of us who are not yet at that state. I am not yet at that state, so that's for me, and perhaps for those listening to this. So for those of us who benefit from an answer to this question still, it seems that the message is to morning and night give time to spend with God, and some practical considerations for how to strategically manage that. And then for the rest, it's advice all about what the Course calls magic. The Course has a unique way of using words. Most of us think of magic as something that breaks through the limitations of what we think of as reality. But that's how it uses the word miracle. The Course uses the word magic to refer to behaving as though the dream illusion were reality. And the Course is teaching us to accept more and more that the dream illusion has no meaning, and the only meaning there is love, and love is formless and abstract. Love is without story, without form, and therefore without any attachment to the illusion or any dependence on it whatsoever. And so we are learning to relinquish the illusion so that the Holy Spirit can replace it, translate it, into as happy an illusion as we are able to receive in that moment. Because love respects our sovereignty and will not press upon us any more than we are willing to receive. This may be what some describe as timeline jumping, where our entire version of the dream is gently translated to something that is more loving. Whereas when we give in to temptation by identifying with separation and believing the dream illusion is real, the dream illusion may seem to take a step away from love. The Course encourages us to return to the center, which is to remind ourselves that no matter what the illusion shows, it's always meaningless and we're always safe. That is home base. One of the pieces of advice given about giving this quiet time to God is to stay with it, leaning in to when it starts to become difficult, when perhaps we're becoming distracted in some way. Or, I don't know, maybe falling asleep and losing focus that way. We're being asked to exercise our mental muscles a bit for concentration. And it says don't try to do that for too long. If it doesn't work, go ahead and stop. But it's encouraging us to stretch a little, exercise a little, to give our focus and our vigilance, our mental effort to being present, fully present, no past, no future, no intrusion of the illusion, to seek and find love where it is found, which is in the center of all things, which we find in ourselves. It's interesting what it says about the evening time given to God, especially in consideration with what the Course said earlier about how the illusion continues into sleep. We may not think that we're aware of it, but our consciousness continues. And perhaps the suggestion in the Course is that that time spent in what we think of as sleep in the illusion can be shaped by love when we give this evening time to God. And so even if giving something more formal and structured doesn't really work for us, it still encourages us to even give a very brief moment right before sleep. Again, perhaps to shape the way that time goes in that state. I have heard it said that the states we are in right after waking and right before sleeping are impressionable times and therefore are very precious for shaping the rest of how we are in the other states. So it's valuable to approach this with intention for what it offers to the rest of our states and of our time. The passage then reminds us that our seeming separated state from the rest of all that is, we made it thinking that it would make us safe, and it reminds us that cutting ourselves off and being all by ourselves in a teensy tiny, infinitesimally small little island is not safety. Rather, hooking in to the vast, glorious magnitude of all that is safety, because all that is will support us and nourish us and commune with us. And that is our strength. Love is the connection and the receiving of all. The passage then goes on to address the true safety and how, when we understand this as teachers of God, the passage of time does not cause distress in any way because it's an illusion. Being in all sorts of different places and states also doesn't cause distress because that is an illusion. Our state becomes a stable one that we retain regardless of seeming circumstance. We can't be thrown anymore because that which would seem to throw, we don't believe in or have faith in. It goes on to connect these two ideas together. We, hooked into the magnitude of all that is, connected and communing with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit has perfect faith in that there is no order of difficulty in any problem that might be seen in the illusion, because the Holy Spirit has zero faith in the illusion. The Holy Spirit has perfect certainty of its nothingness and meaninglessness. And so that is why the Holy Spirit is the ally that brings us all that we need to navigate this and to be reminded that our state is a constant one, an unthreatened one, untouchable, and that is our refuge, that is our safety. We are then reminded that there will be temptations along the way. The illusion will keep oscillating between alluring and threatening, trying one and then the other to convince us that it is real and we must react to it. The more faithful we are, in the sense that the more consistently and without exceptions we maintain that that illusion is meaningless, the more we will find ourselves in a stable state that is not affected by the illusion. And that state is a state of joy and love. Don't forget laughter. The passage asks us, what do we do when we've been entranced by the illusion, when we have become involved in seemingly external things? It says we practice. We practice the principles that we've learned, and we exercise faith in our own success. The passage reminds us that when we have been entranced by the illusion, we go into a state where we try to fix things in the illusion, we try to make things happen in the illusion, and we are relying on our teensy-weensy separate self, not being hooked in with the all that is, and letting that be our guide. And it reminds us that that's what magic is. The teensy tiny, infinitesimally small little shard of God trying to be separate and make stuff happen in the illusion. This passage tells us that as we advance as teachers of God, eventually we will come to see that everything but God is magic, everything but the will of God is magic, and that it is maintained by the simple-minded illusion that it seems to work. But the miracle melts that away. The miracle shows us that the illusion is nothing, and therefore magic is nothing, because magic is trying to solve problems in the illusion by the rules and limitations set forth by the illusion. The miracle walks through all limitations, for all limitations are nothing. The passage does not say this, but perhaps something to consider is that miracles happen when the shards of God join together and recognize their oneness, because the Course has shown us over and over that we don't heal alone, we heal together. And magic is when we try to operate as the separate cut-off self and just do it by myself. I can do it myself, Mama. I don't need help. So in miracles, we join together. In magic, we separate and try to do it ourselves. And as teachers of God, we remember that there are no mistakes that cannot be easily and instantly corrected, and the gates of heaven reopened at any instant. And after reviewing what is the real world found in show notes, we go on to lesson 292. A happy outcome to all things is sure. God's promises make no exceptions, and she guarantees that only joy can be the final outcome found for everything. Yet it is up to us, when this is reached, how long we let an alien will appear to be opposing her, and while we think this will is real, we will not find the end she has appointed as the outcome of all problems we perceive, all trials we see, and every situation that we meet. Yet is the ending certain, for God's will is done in earth and heaven. We will seek and we will find, according to her will, which guarantees that our will is done. We thank you, Mother, for your guarantee of only happy outcomes in the end. Help us not interfere and so delay the happy endings you have promised us for every problem that we can perceive, for every trial we think we still must meet. I love the wording on that last phrase, every trial we think we still must meet. If there's any doubt remaining that trials are given us by God, no, never. We only give ourselves trials. God asks that we give them all up. The path home is a gentle one. Let us never forget this. And that is our lesson for the day. Happy practicing.